Good morning, Rabbi.
We are learning Mishnah Sotah, Perikei, chapter 5, Mishnah Mishnah 5. On that day, and again, the day that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah became the Nasi, Darash Rabbi Yeshua ben Hyrcanus. Until now, we brought all the teachings of Rabbi Akiva from that day, and now we're quoting, we're citing the derivative and teaching of Rabbi Yeshua, the son of Hyrcanus. Job served Hashem from love of God. Shenemar, meaning the question, the discussion of the Mishnah is going to be if the biblical personality of Job was his service of Hashem out of love of God or out of fear. So Rabbi Shua ben Hyrcanus, he argued that Eov served Hashem out of love. Shenemar, as it states, Hey Niktaleni, which means, were he to kill me, loy ayachel, I would yearn for him. Which means, were Hashem to kill me, I would still yearn for him. That means that Eov's love for Hashem was so great that it would endure even if Hashem were to punish him with death. That's what the pasuk says. Hey nikaleni, were it to kill me, I would yearn for him. So that means that even if he's killing me, I would still yearn for him. Now, now the matter is still 50-50. Because the pasuk reads, we just read the pasuk, and the way it's spelled is Hein Yikaleni, behold, if he were he to kill me, Lo Ayachel, Lamed Vav. Lamed Vav means to him. To him. However, we know that there are times in the Chumash where it is written it could be written one way, and it can mean another way. So actually, the writing of this word Lo Ayachel is with an aleph, which would literally, but according to the reading, according to the spelling, Lo with an aleph would mean not, which would mean, were he to kill me, I will not yearn for him. So the question is here, this word Lo, Adina Dabashakal, the matter is still a question, is still in doubt. When it says Lo ani metzape, does it mean I hope to him? Does it mean I yearn for him? Or does it mean I don't yearn for him? That's the question. Because sometimes you can have the spelling with an aleph, and the meaning, though, is like with a vav to him, or it can be the other way around. So the question here is, what exactly, how are we supposed to determine which one it means? Talmud Leimar, for that we have another verse that says, Ad egva lo aser tumasi mimeni. That means, until I perish, I will not remove my perfect faith from myself. That means even when I perish, my faith will still be whole. Malame, that teaches us, Shemehava Asa, that he served God out of love. Because if the point is that were Eov to serve God out of fear, which would mean out of fear of punishment of death, well, if Hashem is killing him, then it's the point is somewhat futile. And therefore, that's why there, he said, according to tradition, is, how do they say it here? Right. If it to say, were he to kill me, I would not yearn, that would mean that you've only served Hashem out of fear of death or other punishment. And right, so therefore, if the point would be that he serves God only to avoid punishment and death, therefore, if he would be put to death, he would not see God, because if the whole point was to avoid death, and he's dying, then he would not be yearning more for God. But the fact that all these psukim tell us that even when I die, my faith will not perish, then that means to say that even in that kind of situation, I'm still there with him. It's not about serving God so not to be punished, but it's out of love. Amar Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua said, who shall remove the dust from your eyes? Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, the sage Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Now, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was not alive anymore. And the point of this comment was, if only the dust of the grave could be removed from your eyes and you would be alive to hear this teaching. Meaning, this is a teaching you would have wanted to have heard. Why? Because you taught your entire life that Eov only served God from fear. Shenamar, as the pasuk states, Ish tam v'yasher yarei Elokim b'sar meira. A man who was tam, he was wholesome, he was upright, fearing of God and turning away from evil. So this pasuk is calling Eov a Yorei Elokim, fear of God, which means his service was out of fear. And that was what Rabbi Yochanan used to teach about Eov all the time. However, Yeshua, the student of your student, taught that he learned that he served God out of love. And they explain here that Rabbi Shua ben Hyrcanus was a student. That was the opening, sage of our Mishnah. Shua ben Hyrcanus was a student of Rabbi Akiva, who was actually the student of a student of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. So we're all calling these people your students because they are, so to speak, generations later of your students. But the point is that these of your students actually had a source to teach other than you had taught. Now, as for the verse that describes Eov as fearing of God, now if we're saying that he served God out of love, then why does the verse call him fearing God? And therefore it may be understood as speaking of a fear that stems from love. Someone with an intense love for God will be afraid of making even the slightest error for fear that it will weaken the bond between God and himself. So the fear of God being described is not, I'm serve God out of fear because I'm afraid of something. I'm afraid of being punished. It means that because I love God so much, I'm afraid of weakening the bond in any way. And therefore I stay away from sin. Have a wonderful day.
Okay. All right.